Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening. Welcome to Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy. Up first, we've got an advisory here for the north coast of the Seward Peninsula, a high surf advisory that is from Wales to Shishmaref for tonight, with winds gusting up to 35 miles an hour this afternoon at Shishmaref, looking at that producing 4 to 6 foot seas that are breaking and running up the beach and could cause some minor beach erosion. That's out until 6 a.m. Saturday. And for the satellite imagery, see lots of cloudiness, precipitation here, rotating eastward, and this band pushing northeastward, bringing a good shot of rain in from the Kuskokwim Valley to the Alaska Range. That's spilling into the northern Cook Inlet area, actually on down the inlet as well in the Kenai Peninsula during the afternoon hours. So that came through Bristol Bay, which looks like they're clearing out this afternoon, but 12-hour amounts in at 4 p.m. this afternoon. King salmon picked up about 2/3 of an inch of rain, while Ruth Glacier up at the northwest end of the Susitna Valley, or actually farther up where Ruth Glacier is, the rain gauge there had about 0.7 of an inch. Otherwise, back up here to the northwest, Shugnak Airport picked up 1/3 of an inch of rain in that same 12-hour period today ending at 4 p.m., while Point Lay had about 0.16 of an inch, and most amounts everywhere else were something less, just really more few hundredths of an inch. Some areas had about 1/10 of an inch, but those are the heaviest rainfall amounts. See a pretty good break back here along the southwest coast, Nunivak Islands, I mentioned, spreading into Bristol Bay. This system down to the south, bringing a little bit of moisture up to the eastern Aleutians there, the Alaska Peninsula. And that's pushing mostly off to the east here. That did come far enough north to push the clouds into the southern Bering Sea. Clouds kind of trailing back from the Pribilofs, pick up some precipitation here as it crosses the Alaska Peninsula to near and south of Kodiak Island. That actually developing here, this area of clouds in the Gulf of Alaska. And the showers and rain continued again over the southeast coast, with Wrangell picking up about 1/2 inch, again in the 12-hour period today ending at 4 o'clock, as did Sitka, and Juneau had about 0.44 of an inch of rain during the same time period. You can see that all associated with this area of clouds moving out, beginning to taper off now, some breaks here. Looks like a pretty good break in advance of this next developing system. And then on the chart today, there's that trough that brought the precipitation in, and then the one farther back here that's developing, this coming across the peninsula. Two will more or less combine and develop into a system. Trough aloft here, swinging through, bringing the showers and rain, now spilling into the Cook Inlet area, northern Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley extending back to the north and back to the northwest there. Again, developing low pressure area, this trough coming southward, actually probably at this time already a cutoff low there, causing those gusty winds, resulting in the high surf advisory on the north side of the Seward Peninsula. Otherwise, not too bad over the north slope. Few showers developing over the mountainous terrain here of the eastern Brooks Range, and then some isolated thunderstorms popping up from the eastern Alaska Range up to the Eagle area and over into the Yukon. Otherwise, high pressure out over the Bering Sea, light winds, but lots of clouds coming across there, and another batch of clouds coming southeastward with a pretty weak surface low back up over the Russian Far East. For tonight, this system down to the south continues to slide eastward. That'll keep periods of light rain going over the eastern Aleutians with patchy areas of fog as well. Fog, low clouds, drizzle, pretty likely to occur from Atka Island all the way back to Shimei and Attu. And then this trough staying mostly to the north and out to the west with high pressure settling in over the northern Bering Sea. Not all that strong, just 1,013 millibars. And then that low pressure area, again keeping it those northwest winds on the gusty side there through tonight for that high surf advisory from Wales to Shishmaref, with areas of rain and showers, kind of a band extending down along the southern coast of the Norton Sound area back out to St. Lawrence Island for a little bit of moisture there. And then really showery here as this trough axis rotates through. Now got a low generating here in the Gulf of Alaska, 1,005 millibars, and frontal system develops there, spreads eastward, chance of rain increases late tonight toward morning there along all of the southeast coast, with the showers now pretty well restricted over toward the eastern border. A narrow break in between, wouldn't look for much clearing, just a let up in the precipitation. We'll see for tomorrow, Saturday, first day of the weekend. Front pushes through, but lots of moisture, rain changing to showers. Some of those will be on the moderate side, extending down to the Dixon entrance area there, another trough right off the coast here, followed by more showers, but much more scattered in nature farther to the west there. Could see some sunshine there at Kodiak Island, possibly tomorrow afternoon. Same thing for Cook Inlet. Showers, isolated thunderstorms, now less extensive here over south central Alaska. So a drier day tomorrow coming up after the rain tonight here for southern Alaska. Still showery and scattered thunderstorms, especially right through this area here. It'll probably be the wettest from the central Alaska range, far northern Susitna Valley, northward all the way up to the southern slopes of the Brooks Range here into the Koyukuk Valley. Breaking out later in the afternoon. Scattered showers, less and less of that as you head west to partly sunny skies with just about no showers at all for the North Slope and on down the in toward the Noatak Valley, Kenai, or the Seward Peninsula, and the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Looking pretty good. Partly sunny for Bristol Bay. Isolated showers over the mountains though, and high pressure again keeping it dry with light winds out over the Bering Sea here centered southwest of St. Lawrence Island. There will be patchy areas of fog and again extensive low clouds all the way down to the Aleutians. This trough now bringing a little bit of moisture in across the western Aleutians, and that's about it. This low beginning to pull off to the east. Still a chance of rain, mostly from Unalaska over to False Pass, King Cove, and possibly Cold Bay to maybe Sand Point. Just a chance of rain there, but that'll all be shifting off to the east here late or tomorrow evening. And then for Sunday, that whole low complex pushes up to the northeast, trough exiting the Panhandle for decreasing showers in the afternoon, kind of hanging on though. Pretty wet day over the northern southeast coast, but this next system now, 997 millibars, that poised to roll right on in Sunday night and into early Monday for another good shot of solid rain. And then this trough here, giving solid rain to just about all of south central Alaska from Kodiak up across the Kenai. Looks very wet on Sunday here for Cook Inlet, the valleys, on up into the central interior. Scattered thunderstorms possible there over the White Mountains in towards just south of Eagle, maybe the Wrangles, on up to the eastern Brooks Range. Could see thunderstorms in the afternoon. Otherwise showers, drier back here to the west again with best chance of sunshine up over the northwest. We can see some partial clearing on down to the south. Low clouds, fog and drizzle. Bering Sea side of the peninsula, look for mostly sunny skies on the south side there. That means Sand Point, Chignik and those areas. Probably see mostly sunny day in the afternoon on Sunday. Possibly some clearing there for the Pribilofs. Also in advance of this warm front, could see some breaks and some sunshine for St. Lawrence Island as well. High pressure now south, farther south. So all of the Aleutians looking really light wind-wise, 10 knots basically from, I believe, the north, light and variable winds. Just about dead calm from Amchitka Island west to Shemya. So look for quite an extensive area of low clouds and fog to go along with that. And temperatures this afternoon across the southeast coast, mid to upper 50s, although Metlakatla hit 61, as did Annette Island, 60 degrees up at Skagway. Everyone else in the mid 50s, 59 Yakutat, lower 50s, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, Valdez at 51, same thing there at Whittier, 53 in Seward, and that temperature matched also at Kenai, but outdone by Homer with 57. Copper River Basin, temperatures range from the upper 40s here to mid 50s, 50 degrees even there at McCarthy, 57 at Northway, 56 Fairbanks and Tanana, 59 at Fort Yukon. Eagle just getting over 60 this afternoon, and 49 there, upper 40s for the Brooks Range at those two locations, lower 50s for the North Slope. We may at Airfield, the warmer location here north of the Brooks Range at 53 degrees. And Otherwise, lower to mid-40s there right along the coastline. Cold spot, 39 degrees at Point Hope, 41 Kivalina, 43 at Kotzebue, 45 there at Nome, 43 at Teller, and actually that's Wales. And again, the gusty winds and rain through this area, near or just under 50 St. Lawrence Island. 50s all of the southwest interior. Northeast Bristol Bay, though, getting into the lower 60s with king salmon at 58, falling into the lower 50s toward Cold Bay. 51 there at Unalaska, 58 in Nikolsky, 54 at Atka. And for the lows tonight, upper 40s to lower 50s here for the Bering Sea, Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. 30s, upper 30s, Seward Peninsula, maybe even chillier down toward freezing here over the inland areas of the peninsula. That same pattern extending northeast there into the western central Brooks Range. And upper 30s to mid 40s here south of the mountains, mostly in the 30s, although Eagle forecasting a low of 35, and lower 50s over the southern panhandle. Highs for tomorrow in the lower 60s, 60 to 65-ish here from the upper Yukon Valley southward toward Northway and Tok. And Bristol Bay, once again, king salmon, Igagik, Pilot Point could rise into the lower to mid 60s tomorrow if you get enough sunshine. Otherwise, cool 40s here for the Seward Peninsula and the western North Slope, and mostly into the 40s here for the Arctic coast. 50s for the Panhandle, again to near 60, 50 south central Alaska. For flying weather, IFR along and south of the Alaska Range, IFR from the northern Seward Peninsula across Kotzebue Sound northward over a good portion of the Arctic coast and North Slope. And lots of IFR as usual out here over the Bering Sea, as well as the Aleutians, that in conjunction with that storm slowly pulling off to the east. IFR along the eastern border, but marginal VFR for the Panhandle. And then tomorrow afternoon, that pretty well persists throughout the day. Keep the IFR south side of the central Alaska Range, but good VFR breaking out, Kuskokwim Valley down into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island. Also VFR into Cook Inlet, marginal stuff over the Talkeetnas, but VFR eastern interior, marginal out to the west, marginal in IFR, central Bering Sea on out to the west with some IFR persisting there for the Fox Islands. Anatuvik, marginal tomorrow, as will be Adigan, Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR. Rainy starting out IFR, becoming marginal into the afternoon or late morning. Windy IFR southern approach, otherwise marginal. And for Isabel and Mentasta, Isabel VFR, Mentasta VFR could possibly become marginal VFR maybe in the afternoon, risk of a thunderstorm as well. And for Tanita, marginal VFR becoming VFR. And IFR improving to VFR for Portage. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR deteriorating to IFR in the afternoon. Freezing levels still pretty chilly here to the west and northwest. Kind of a cold air mass for August here, 2,000 feet up over the Chukchi Sea Seward Peninsula areas and back up to 8,000 feet toward Kodiak Island, 12,000 feet over the south central Aleutian, southeast Bering, and about 6,000 feet more or less here for the southeast coast. Icing threats above about 7,000, call it, say around 8,000 here in the south to maybe 5,000 back up toward the Wrangell Mountains. And also another batch up here for the Seward Peninsula eastward, trailing back across the northern Yukon Delta, and then possible icing 10,000 feet and up. So with that warm air mass out there, not really much of a problem for the eastern Aleutians. And for the upper air chart, upper level low tomorrow dropping into this position, cold air aloft with that, and the northwest jet sailing around that, becoming westerly across the Gulf of Alaska. Lots of rain converging here with that southern jet, so a lot of rain poised to move into the Panhandle. 9,000 feet, northeasterlies 10 to 15, pick up to about 20 knots over the Aleutians. Light variable winds from the Gulf of Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, all the way up to the Arctic coast there over the interior. Southerlies 20 to 25 here and across the Panhandle. 3,000 feet, about the same pattern, drop it back to roughly 15 knots here at this elevation for the Panhandle. Light variable over the interior to the Arctic coast. And northeasterlies maybe up to 25 from around Nikolsky over to possibly Adak, and then lighter back out to the west. Turbulence, maybe light to isolated moderate chop here from False Pass all the way across to Atka, and maybe here through the Bering Strait. It'll be a little more bumpier tonight and then improving tomorrow as the winds diminish. Still a chance of some light to very isolated moderate turbulence here, especially for smaller aircraft. And after the break, I'll be back with the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
Coming up on Destination Tomorrow, we take a look at NASA's Aviation Safety Program. We'll look back at some highlights of the program and find out what the future holds for aviation. All this and more next on Destination Tomorrow.
We found that changing the seats has made a lot of difference and saved a lot of lives. However, there's more we can do. We need to look at the whole system, like changing the structure so that not only do we have the seats stay attached, but energy is taken out of the system through the structure itself. And they're wearing special restraints that keep them in their seat, and also may even put airbag technology in some of the aircraft. And for large airplanes, we're even looking at changing the design so that it will deliberately brake in certain places. Then we can determine where not to put hot things or sharp things or fuel lines and things like that so that people can get out or egress through these openings in the large aircraft.
Lisa, a lot of the things that you've described are things that NASA and the industry are doing to make flying safer, but is there anything the general public can do to make flying safer?
Yes, you can check your luggage, all of it if possible, because things in the luggage bins do become flying objects in a crash event. Computers, for instance, are very heavy objects, and if they come flying through the aircraft at landing speeds of 200 knots, then you have an issue because it will definitely injure people. People are not replaceable, things are, so if you can check the luggage, then you're doing a great service to prevent injuries in an accident. We want people to walk away from these survivable events and not have any injuries, and we're working hard to get there.
Did you know that NASA researchers are working with industry to better train pilots and airline personnel? In recent years, NASA researchers have developed textbooks and web-based programs that help increase pilot proficiency in an automated cockpit, while also improving training for maintenance crews and inspectors. These programs are increasing awareness and helping to prevent future accidents from ever occurring. In recent years, NASA researchers have also been focused on reducing fuel flammability and in detecting fires aboard aircraft. In fact, NASA recently won the prestigious R&D 100 award for a fire detection system that has a very low false alarm rate. Dust, dirt, and aerosols frequently fool current fire detection systems, creating about 200 false alarms for every real fire. This is problematic for many different reasons. When a fire alarm goes off, a pilot will immediately initiate emergency landing procedures and will divert the flight to the closest airport. This is not only inconvenient, but is also very expensive, costing the airlines about $50,000 for each false alarm. It's clear to see that this new NASA system will not only save money, but also make flying safer.
NASA has also worked to reduce the chance of an explosion inside an aircraft's fuel tank. When some fuel tanks are not completely full, research has found that wiring inside the tank may cause sparking. This sparking could ignite the oxygen contained in the empty space, causing an explosion. To fix this problem, researchers have designed a fuel system that can replace the oxygen in empty spaces with nitrogen. This works well because nitrogen suppresses fire while oxygen feeds it. Coming up, we'll take a look at a unique facility that is designed to test aircraft icing. But first, did you know that even if the engines on a large commercial aircraft fail, it should be able to glide safely to the ground? Most commercial jet aircraft have approximately a 15-to-1 glide ratio, which means it will glide 15 feet for each foot it descends. At this rate, an airplane flying at 35,000 feet can glide for about 525,000 feet, or 100 miles.
Weather conditions play an important role in all flights. Perhaps one of the most dangerous conditions that can affect aircraft is ice. Fortunately, NASA researchers have been using a unique facility that can simulate the icing effects on aircraft.
Thanks for the ice. You know, there's nothing like a beverage chilled with ice during a long flight. Inside an airplane, ice is something passengers desire. However, outside an airplane, ice can be dangerous, especially if it forms on the wings or engines. I had the opportunity to speak with Judy Foss Van Zanti at the NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio. She's researching the effects of icing on aircraft at a unique facility called the Icing Research Tunnel. Researchers at this facility study the formation of ice on the exterior of aircraft. So while flying, the only ice you'll need to worry about is the ice inside your cup.
Well, I'm standing right here in the Icing Research Tunnel. Right here we create on Earth what it's like for an airplane to fly through an icing cloud up there. To do that, we got to make it windy, cold, and wet. Now right now I'm standing in front of the fan. We have the fan to create the wind, and in the test section, which is a much smaller cross-sectional area, we can get winds up to 400 miles per hour. So that's about as fast as a plane might fly through in an icing environment. We create the cold with our heat exchanger, 1,700 ton. It can cool 500 homes. That's how big it is. We can get from 0 Celsius down to about -20, which is where the icing might occur in nature. And we have spray bars. The spray bars is what makes the icing tunnel. We create the rain. We create a mist that the airplane would fly through. Now the thing about the spray bars is the researchers need to control both how much water is in the cloud, the liquid water content we call it, and how big the drop size is. And we have spray bars specially designed to create those conditions. So in our test section, we create what it's like for a plane to fly through an icing cloud.
So why did NASA build an icing research tunnel?
As it turns out, during World War II, the Allies lost more aircraft to icing than enemy fires. They were trying to fly supplies over the Himalayas. So the Air Corps turned to NACA, that's NASA's predecessor, and asked them to build an icing research tunnel so we could understand what was going on and how to fix the problem.
So what do you test in the icing research tunnel, or the IRT?
What we test in the IRT is what makes sense to test. Now if you think about it, if you're in an airplane flying through an icing cloud, what surfaces are most critical to keep ice-free? Well, it's the wings, which provide the lift, get you off the ground, and it's the engine inlet, which provides the forward thrust. So we typically can test just those components, just the wing or the engine inlet.
So what happens when ice forms on an airplane's wing? Well, ice can disrupt the airflow over a wing and will eventually cause the airflow to separate. This separation of airflow creates more drag and less lift. If ice continues to form, the wing will no longer produce the appropriate amount of lift needed to keep the airplane in flight. In some cases, ice creates airflow separation over movable parts, like an aileron. This could create handling or control problems, and the plane could suddenly roll.
As the wing is flying through the air, the ice only accumulates around the leading edge. So that's why ice protection systems only wrap around the front part of the wing. The biggest factor in how the ice grows is temperature. So if it's really cold, the water droplet comes in, hits the front part of the wing, and freezes on impact. And you get this nice pointy rime shape. The more dangerous ice comes during warmer conditions, those closer to freezing, where the water comes in, hits the leading edge, and actually runs back a little bit. If that happens, the next droplet might come in and see that droplet that is frozen and start to grow. So you might get these ram's horns that grow upstream. Now that significantly disrupts your airflow, and that is not, that's way off design, and that's very bad.
Welcome back. Sea ice analysis today, still showing open sea ice-free waters here in all the navigable areas, all the way across there toward Banks Island, and ice edge fair distance off to the north. This piece continuing to dissolve, and we'll keep on that same trend for the next several days. And for the coastal forecast, southeast 15 to 20 knots here for the coast, south-southeast 15 inside waters, except northern Link Canal, 25 knots, small craft advisories there. Saturday, Sunday, they'll fall back to 20 knots. And small craft advisories here for the central coast, south to southeast, 25 knots, 20 knots either side, extreme north and south ends. Then for Prince William Sound, northeast 10. Same thing for Cook Inlet, northeast light winds, north light for Shelikof Strait, Kodiak Island, 15 knots. Turn northwest there from the Barrens into the western Gulf Coast. And then easterlies at 20 knots tomorrow here. That'll be the windiest area for the Middleton Island zone. And then for Sunday, those kick up northeast 25 knots, small craft advisories there, and then back down to 15, turning north, light northerlies to northwest around Kodiak Island. Kamishak Bay on up through Cook Inlet, light northeasterlies. Bristol Bay, light north winds there, and then northeast at about 15 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula. on the Bering Sea side and the Pacific side, with easterlies at 15, turning southwest at 15 there towards Sitkinak. And then for the Sunday outlook, northwest at 20 for Bristol Bay. Northerlies pick up a little bit here to 20 knots across the Alaska Peninsula seas at 6 feet. And those 20-knot northerly winds extend on up to Sitkinak. And then for the Fox Islands, Unalaska Island, east 15, turning northeast around the Kulski, picking up to 20 knots north to northeast for the Adak-Atka area, turning northwest at 20 here for the western zones, but seas 5 to 6 feet, 8 feet here, so small craft advisories there southeast of Nikolsky. And then for the Sunday outlook, light variable really laid down here over the western Aleutians under high pressure. Light northerly winds, 10 knots to about Atka, pick up to 15, and then 20 knots there across Unalaska Island with 4 to 6 foot seas. And for the southwest coast, we got northerlies at 15 here, right across Nunivak Island. Northwest 20 for St. Lawrence Island, northeast 15 for the Pribilofs. And then for Sunday, north 15 for the Pribilof, southwest 15 now for the northern Bering Sea, St. Matthew Island, west 20 there coming over the top of a ridge for St. Lawrence Island, and back around to the north to northwest at 20 knots along the southwest coast with 4 to 5 foot seas. Beaufort Sea coast on the east side, north to northeast at 10, easterlies at 10 on the central coast, and winds north picking up to 20 knots from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales. And then the outlook for Sunday, those swing around, become even lighter, 10 to 15 knots south-southwest. Really light winds here out of the east, pick up to 10 knots for the central coast. And those winds continue to increase as you head east. Small craft advisories out as you get over toward Demarcation Point, with the winds picking up to 25 knots. For tonight, rain pushing in toward the southeast coast and south-central Alaska northward. Tomorrow breaks out to showers here. Drier day for south-central Alaska. Rain changing to moderate showers for the Panhandle. And Sunday, more rain. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.